Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. That cheeky hype button if you're on mobile super helps out as well, so thank you so much for doing that. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Mechanic Hungry 5615 from the TrueOffMyChest subreddit. It's a story been going on since July 2024, but now has new updates to it as well. But it does have a trigger warning of abuse and child abuse within the story, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It's titled, I'm Leaving Him, but I have to pretend everything is normal. So as mentioned, this started on July 6, 2024. It says, my boyfriend and I have been together since 2022. The night after our first date, he got angry because his TV froze and threw the remote, slammed his bedroom door, shut off the lights and told me he was going to bed, so I should too. I should have left then, but I didn't. He's continued having outbursts like this when angry or frustrated for the past 2 years. He would calm down and apologize and tell me he would do better and I didn't deserve that, and I would tell him it's okay. Summer of 2023, he quit his job, and shortly after we found out I was pregnant. I work as a waitress, so we were forced to move in with his family. He told me it would be temporary, but didn't even start looking for or get a new job until that winter. The entire time he expected me to have saved up all the money we needed to move, while also getting ready for our baby. We were finally kicked out of his parents' home due to his mood swings, which caused them to fight frequently. Our baby got here in spring of 2024, and 2 weeks later he quit his job again. I have now been expected to pay all the bills while also walking on eggshells to avoid his anger. The outbursts have ramped up since the arrival of my son, and he has been throwing things when angry, which usually results in my things getting broken. Last week, he threw an insulated water bottle that almost hit the swing my son had just been taken out of. I've hit my limit. He will not change. It's been 3 months and he will not find a job. I'm tired of being scared in my own home. I'm tired of not being able to leave the house without him. I'm waiting until he has a job so I can leave him while he's at work. I'm moving back to my hometown and getting a job there. I'm breaking my lease on the grounds of domestic violence. Until then, I have to act like everything is normal, while I gather resources and evidence. It is so hard to pretend, and it is so hard to leave. I feel guilty because I know he can tell I'm at a breaking point. He's selling his car that does not run for scrap, so we have to find a way to pay bills this month. He'll be stuck without a vehicle when I leave. I'm trying not to let that keep me here. I have to think about my baby and his safety. I have to keep it together until I can get out. Big Bob C says to the OP, waiting for him to get a job is risky. Your kid could be in kindergarten by then. Look for other opportunities. OP says he has an interview on Monday that I'm praying and hoping pans out. He's also sick right now, so I might actually be able to leave the house without him tomorrow and let my dad know what's going on, which could speed things along as well. Yo-Yo says, see my original comment. I know what you're dealing with. Do not wait for the right time. There won't be one. It will drag on for years. Believe me. Tell your dad. Tell someone who will hold you accountable. Don't keep it to yourself like I did for so long. Opie says, I've told anyone I can trust to keep it from him, and that will help me. At this point, they're all on standby waiting for me to tell them it's time. Spinner of Yarn says, please just go next time he's out of the house for a few hours. You are not safe. Your baby is not safe. The safety of the two of you is more important than your stuff. Opie said he's never out of the house. He doesn't work. He doesn't go anywhere. I can't even go anywhere besides work without him. He's just always there. Opie comes in the next day with a small update and says, I was able to leave the house without him this morning. I've never been so happy to hear someone getting sick all night before, and went and saw my dad. My dad is ready to help me leave at a moment's notice and has advised me to document everything I do for the baby to help with custody, because my boyfriend doesn't help much with the baby either. I'm nursing at the moment, so thankfully he won't be able to have him but a few hours every other weekend anyways, and never overnight. He's also going to help me find somewhere to work in my hometown, and I may be able to stay with him if I can't find a place of my own when I'm ready to go. 3 days from the original post, Opie comes in again and says I'm not exactly sure how updating posts on Reddit usually works, so forgive me if this is weird or not the norm. In the past 3 days, I've been able to inform everyone who needs to know of my plans. This includes my job and my leasing office, because I'm moving back to my hometown and I'm having to find work there, but thankfully my managers are very understanding and supportive of what's going on. They first and foremost want me to be safe. My leasing office has helped me find a way to discreetly remove myself from the lease so I can get out. I've begun recording everything, either on my phone or in writing. My mum is helping me with plans to get an attorney for custody. My dad and stepsister are helping me slowly move things out of my current apartment, as my stepsister lives in the same town I do, and can take things from me and bring them to my dad to store until I leave. I started applying for jobs in my hometown as well as housing. I saw the comments warning me not to wait until he has a job, and you're right. But I do plan on waiting until I have a job to secure a future for my baby and myself. Thank you to everyone for the well wishes. Miraculously, since I've decided to leave, he's decided to act like the model father/boyfriend. But it's only been 4 days, and I can tell that's waning. I will keep you all updated as things progress. Wish me luck. 5 days from the original post. Opie says, the update you've all been waiting for. I'm gone. Yesterday morning, a lot happened. He called his 5-year-old a dumbass. I told his mum as soon as I could, and she has him now. And I had to take my baby to ER because his dad got him sick and it's turned into pneumonia. While at the hospital, I was stressed and admittedly was a bit snippy with him. But the way he responded by saying, well fine, I just won't talk to you today. I'm done. Set something off in my head. I was done. This was my last straw. I needed to get out that day. So I messaged my family. I had a small 20-minute window of time where he was leaving the house, and I was going to take it. All day I was patient. I slowly got our things together, covertly putting all mine and the baby's most worn clothes in a laundry basket under the guise of doing laundry later. And as soon as he was gone, I was out the door. I left a note explaining why I left and laying out my plans for custody and getting the rest of my things. He tried to get a hold of me the whole hour's drive to my family's. I did not answer, and probably will not for a while. I am safe, my baby is safe, things are going to be okay. On the back of this, a commenter called Renway says, oh thank goodness, I'm so freaking proud of you. You're an incredibly strong woman and a wonderful mother. I don't know where you live, but where I live, character witnesses help in custody cases. Can you get the other mum of his older kid to write a statement against him, his family? They literally kicked you out because of his violence. I'd be so scared to ever let your son be alone with him. If the judge is insistent on giving him some form of custody, I suggest you ask for supervised visitation. I wish you and your son the very best of luck. Opie says, due to me nursing my son, we will never get him for more than a few hours at a time and never overnight. I'll be asking for people to provide character witness statements though. Opie comes in and just adds some more details about what was going on, and this is on the back of people asking questions. Opie says, please go read my first post where I explained why I'm leaving. He is violent. He's taken doors out of their frames while angry, punched holes in walls. He regularly throws things across the room without looking where they are heading. He almost hurt my 3-month-old baby doing this. This is not the only post I've made. And you'd like to know what he said? We were talking about how my baby needed antibiotics, and the conversation went like this. He said, and we don't even know how much it'd be. I said, because he doesn't have insurance, I know. This is obviously an update. It says so in the title. I feel like perhaps you missed it, and that's why you gave such a rude response. You have no idea that I've posted before about how this man has been violent and how he verbally, financially, and emotionally abused me. You seem very quick to anger and judge in this response. I hope this can be a teaching moment for you. All the facts that I'm willing to share with strangers on the internet have been laid out. Maybe some context is missing, maybe small details have been changed to protect my identity. But that does not give you the right to ignore the fact that this is not a first, not a second, but a third post in a series of posts. I just had to do one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, and you feel it is an appropriate time to accuse me of kidnapping my own child, who I have custody of to begin with as his unmarried mother. And my baby isn't sick with pneumonia because of another child. He's sick because his father was sick and wouldn't listen when I told him to leave him alone for a little while until he was better. So now my 3-month-old has fluid on his lungs. I'm sorry if I seem rude or upset in this response. I'm just confused by the lack of reading comprehension. So the next update came a year and 4 months later, and OP said it's been over 1 year since I left my ex with my 3-month-old son. I'm updating now because wow, how things have changed. Now that we're much safer, I'm willing to share more details. I originally said I worked in food service, which was a lie to protect my identity. I was actually a daycare teacher, and I'm now a salaried daycare director. My career blossomed as soon as I left my ex. My son is a happy, healthy toddler who loves to run around our home and scream with joy at the top of his lungs and gobble up snacks on the couch and snuggle up with me at night to watch an old movie. He goes to the daycare that I work at and is learning so much every day. He's a smart and adventurous boy and is more than I could have ever asked for. He now has a stepdad-to-be who loves him so much. He's a wonderful, gentle man, and I'm so thankful I found him at the end of my grieving period. He loved my son and I as soon as he met us, and we love him the same. He helped us so much and moved us into his home after my dad decided having an infant in his house was too much and said we have to leave 3 months after moving in. Another long story in the middle of everything else. We're buying a new home together soon and have plans to get married and grow our little family in a few years. We're hosting Friendsgiving this year because in addition to him, I've also grown such a wonderful community of friends around me. An unfortunate part of this update. I was not able to gather enough evidence to get a restraining order or less than 50-50 custody without a lawyer, which I could not afford at the time of my last update. I'm now saving for one and will be going for majority custody. We're providing my son a more stable home when he is with us and more successful and stable careers, so I'm hoping this will help our case. Thank you for everyone who wished me well when I first left and those who encouraged me to leave. It's one of the hardest moments in my life, but I hope you're happy to see things have only gone up from there. So there was people commenting on the back of OP's post about, is it from the frying pan into the fire kind of thing as she moved on too quickly? Lots of questions around that kind of stuff. OP eventually found some of these comments and started replying and said, hey, this is an older post. Thank you for commenting, but I'm happy to report things are okay. I've not latched onto him and we did move in sooner than we wanted to, but it was either that or living in my car with an infant. I'm from a rural area with no homeless shelters, so that was not an option. Our relationship is very healthy and happy. We have separate lives and interests and finances. I'm safe, of sound mind and happy, and I hope you find happiness too. Someone says, why didn't you leave after the first date? OP says, I grew up in an abusive home. This was prior to therapy. I thought this was normal. OP goes on to explain, saying, I have a safety net. I'm okay. I have an established career and goals. If anything were to happen and after 2 years, I think it would have by now, I would be okay. To another commenter, OP says, hey, I promise I have an actual safety net. I make more money than my fiance. I'm putting money back for my own reasons. Like guys, I really am truly okay. And we're taking our time. I'm taking my time. I'm also in therapy. We've acknowledged we rushed when we first got together and got extremely lucky. Things have turned out as good as they did. I'm the exception, not the blueprint. OP comments on the engagement and says long engagement and yes, 5 years or so. Someone says how OP is doing right now. OP says I'm actually doing really well. I commented somewhere that my posts do have a time delay in case my ex finds them. So my fiance and I have been together for over 2 years now. My career is flourishing and I'm in therapy again, which is just amazing. My son is a firecracker and the light of everyone's life. We are both incredibly spoiled and I hope my fiance feels spoiled in return. We have a home filled with life and love and laughter and friends and family constantly. It's nice to see people rooting for me. I shared a small snippet of my life here with as little details as possible, and so many people pole vaulted to conclusions. Are your legs tired yet? But we're taking it with humor. I've started calling my fiance my evil overlord after reading so many comments saying I was just falling into the hands of another abuser. If any of them really knew either of us, let's see how laughable that was. I hope I can give everyone another update once life moves on more. After the wedding and maybe another kid. But life gets busy and I may forget, so we'll see. And OP adds one more piece of info saying, I was on Snap and WIC when my dad was kicking me out. I was on the waitlist for housing assistance and a women's shelter. The shelter was about an hour away from where I was at the time, but it was something. Unfortunately, they never got back to me. I did try before I jumped into moving with my current partner. I tried for months to get myself together, but so many things happened within that month that I didn't say. My car broke down and I sank money into fixing it when it needed to be scrapped. I got a new car, but I could only afford one that needed work, so all my money went into that. Moving in with him after a month and a half of dating was not the plan. It has turned out well, and we're doing so great. But again, I'm the exception, not the blueprint. I'm carrying a lot of debts because of my ex having to pay bills while making less than $10 an hour. I'm able to pay it off much more quickly now because of my promotion this past summer. This debt also tanked my credit score, and it's just another reason we are waiting to get married and buy a house, but I still have it in our plans. Bloody hell, parts of that story was just... wow, all of the story is incredibly heartbreaking. Imagine having to actually live that experience, waiting for a small window to be able to escape. And she did it. She left with a 3-month-old with no job lined up and a whole support plan that was basically built on that 20-minute window to escape. That's terrifying, isn't it? And it also took an incredible amount of strength to be able to do that. Like I always say in stories like this, when you've been normalized for certain types of behaviors, it must be incredibly difficult to push through it. But now, she's a director, a fiance who loves her kid, she's got friends giving, going to therapy, a toddler who's running around and screaming with joy around the house. And sure, there were some comments concerned about OP jumping from one relationship into another pretty quickly, and it's something that we've seen mentioned in other stories. People who's been part of abusive relationships in whatever form can sometimes move quickly to another source of safety and stability in those moments. And I don't think that's an attack on OP, it's just a real pattern that does happen. Although some comments were probably just shit. There's always going to be some, right? But I think OP knows that. She said it herself. She's in therapy. But she earns more than he does. She has her own career, her own savings, her own plans. She called herself the exception and not the blueprint. So, I'm not worried about her. She's got the self-awareness to say it out loud, which, I think is something, right? And I really do wish OP and her family all the best going forward, truly. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from the TrueOffMyChest subreddit from Anonymous Stories, who says, I ignored my husband so much that he went away without telling me. I, Carla, 30, am 6 months pregnant with mine and my husband's, Harry, 31, first child. During this pregnancy, I've been very exhausted every day and would usually come home from work and go to bed an hour later. Then I'd wake up at midnight and reheat what Harry had made us for dinner. For context, I've been part of a huge work project that's been going on for months, and I've been extremely overworked. On top of this, my husband doesn't have a job at this moment and isn't looking for one unless I remind him. I've been working overtime to get as much money as I can before maternity leave. Our anniversary was on the 6th of August, and I'd asked him if we could have a romantic dinner at home and then snuggle up to watch TV under a warm blanket. I thought it was a wonderful idea since I was too tired to go out and because I knew that Harry was doing most, if not all, of the household chores. However, he seemed a little annoyed when he agreed, but I thought nothing of it. The next morning, Harry seemed quite cold towards me and barely looked me in the eyes. Once I got home from work, he wasn't there. But that was normal since he could have been out with friends or at an interview, and so I went to sleep. I woke up at 11 that night to see that I was still alone in the house, so I checked my phone and had about 8 missed calls from Harry and a long text. I'm summarizing, but the text read, I understand how tired you are because of this pregnancy and you having to work extra hours most days. But I'm over being ignored every day and having a 5-minute conversation with you every so often. You expect me to do all the housework and plan our boring anniversary alone. I'm really annoyed, so I'm staying at my friend's tonight. Text me when you see this. Of course, I called him and texted him about being sorry and wanting to talk, but I never got an answer. In the morning, I called my boss about having a day off and spent most of it waiting for Harry and planning my apology. However, when he came home, he silently handed me a rose and a card saying that he loves me but needs a few days away from me to figure out what he's going to say/do. Then those days became a week. This part happened on the 13th, 8 days later. I messaged him every day. He would constantly say that he needed one more day or just another night at his friend's to figure this all out. But on the 13th, I decided to go to the friend's home he was staying at to confront him. So I drove over, nearly 30 minutes away, and banged on the door so hard that I could hear it echo from inside. By this point, I'd realized that I should have put more effort into our relationship, but he also should have talked to me about this instead of running away. Harry's friend came to the door and was confused but pleased to see me. He seemed a little on edge as I talked to him, and he had to break the silence every so often with comments about my pregnancy and how he couldn't wait to meet the baby. Finally, we stopped talking and I practically demanded to see Harry, saying that I wanted to apologize but also explain how childish he was being by hiding from me. The thing I found absolutely hilarious, actually not at all, was that his friend said that Harry wasn't there and he had left for Ireland on the 9th. Ireland! To say I was absolutely beyond furious and extremely confused would be such an understatement. His friend invited me in and sat me down to talk. Turns out that Harry had told his friend of our problems and had come up with a solution of going on holiday as a couple to sort everything out and learn to love each other again, in Harry's words. So of course his friend thought this was a lovely idea and helped him book the flight on the evening of the 5th, the first time he had stayed at his friend's house. Since it was last minute booking, Harry's friend had stayed up with him for quite a while before they found a flight. He was taking a few more passengers due to cancelled tickets. His friend then explained how he'd been confused when I arrived at the door but didn't want to say anything about the holiday in case it had ended early due to us arguing. Harry's return ticket is booked for the 20th of August. I'm just so angry and quite heartbroken to be completely honest. I messaged him the moment his friend had finished talking and Harry only responded an hour ago with nothing more than "had to figure things out, sorry." So now I'm home alone again and trying to figure out what I'm going to do or say when he gets home. Anyway, thanks for reading about how my life is going. Side note, I'm from the UK, so Ireland isn't as far as people think it is since I'm not American, but it is still so far. Other side note, a question that keeps repeating is, where did he get the money from without you noticing? So I'll leave my explanation from the comments here. He has a bank account with his money from when he worked as a teenager and a little into his 20s before we met. And a few years ago, we agreed not to touch that money and add to it every so often. It was a backup savings account. So I'm assuming that he took the money from there since it wasn't from the joint account. Opiads in the same post. I've had time to think a little. Here's another note. 6 hours later. I knew this post would get attention, but I assumed it would only be a little. I've never used Reddit before, but I've seen it on TikTok a few times, so I thought only posts became popular on there. And maybe this one would get as popular as my Am I the Arsehole post. Not very. I was upset when I posted this and didn't think about how I'd handle all the judgments and conspiracies once I calmed down. I appreciate the hard truths, empathy and/or advice given to me, but I'm not divorcing him, changing the locks or calling a lawyer or anything like that. In the same post again, Opie says, it's the 17th now. I had a longer think. I'm not deciding anything until our talk, but I definitely won't be staying in my home with him after this. I can't trust him to not run away again. I'll talk more about this on my actual update, but I've gained some self-respect and realized he's being an arsehole. I talked to my mum and she's happy for me to move in with her on the 21st, and I'm free to stay for as long as I need to. So I'm going to post an update just to clear the air when I can. Hopefully the day or day after Harry is home, 20th or 21st, and then I'll delete this all a day or two later, or I'll forget to. Bloody hell, what the hell is going on in here? This woman is 6 months pregnant, working overtime every single day to keep them both afloat because what? He can't be bothered to find a job unless she reminds him. And yes, of course, he's doing the housework, which is legit, but his response to feeling neglected because his wife is tired with the pregnancy and all the work is to basically run away and book some sort of solo holiday at the same time. Someone asks Opie, how many tickets did he buy? Opie said 2 tickets as far as his friend knows, and I don't know who he took with him. but I'd like to assume it's a different friend or a relative, or that it just wasn't used. Someone says, "Are you delusional?" Opie says I'm not. Just because I hope he's not with another woman doesn't mean that I believe that. Also, I think I know who's with him, but I'm not going to say anything until I know. If I'm right though, he's definitely not cheating. Yet anything is a possibility now. Someone says his feelings are valid, but his response is extreme. Opie says, "Thank you. This is actually quite helpful. I know I'm not the good guy in all this, and that I should have made time for him or recognized that we needed to talk. I just wish he'd have asked me to have a day off, since I clearly didn't notice how he was feeling, or got a job so that I wouldn't be working so much so we could be together more." 6 days later, Opie comes in with an update and says, "I want to start this out by saying a lot of questions have been answered since Harry came home yesterday evening. The main one being that he did use the second ticket, but for his sister. For the last few days, Harry's friend has been living with me and helping me through this. One way was that he scheduled a couples and individual counselor for Harry and I. I've also been calling my mum every day since the 13th, and with the one counseling session, Harry's friend and my mum all giving me the same advice. I scheduled an early maternity leave with a slight bonus to each paycheck because of all my overtime and unpaid help. I officially leave work in 4 days. Back to yesterday. Harry's friend went to pick up Harry and sent me photos of who he was with as reassurance that it was his sister, Tiff, not her real name. When they arrived, I prepared dinner and cleaned the downstairs of our home so that we could have a civilized conversation without hunger or distractions to stop us. Harry looked extremely tired and he seemed to be on the verge of crying the moment I opened the door to them all. I was incredibly patient for the sole reason of being able to go through this discussion in one piece. And so when Harry wouldn't speak, I let Tiff explain why she had gone with him. Tiff is a lovely lady who helped me through the few months before my pregnancy. However, Harry didn't stay in close contact with her, and I lost touch when the work project started. Because of this, she had no clue about anything going on until Harry called her and said that he had a spare ticket to Ireland. At first she was reluctant since she knew that I was pregnant, and so she tried to ask why he would leave, and if I was with someone who could care for me. Eventually Harry snapped and told her the real reason of why he was going away, and so she joined him to make sure that he knew it was wrong, but also to help him through all the emotions that he was feeling. She was the reason that Harry came back to me. If she hadn't gone with him, then Harry admitted that he might have moved to central London or a small village in the countryside to hide from this. It took everything in me not to cry when she admitted that. I could clearly see the shame on Harry's face. I'm not going to recite every word for word, so I'm going to quickly clear some things up. 1. Harry did use the backup savings account like I thought to pay for the tickets. 2. The reason that Harry's friend didn't see who the other ticket was for was because once they had found the tickets, Harry's friend went to bed. 3. Tiff was by Harry's side the entire holiday in Ireland and confirmed without a doubt that this wasn't to find a fling. They spent most of the days in the cheapest hotel room possible in silence before Harry started talking about everything. 4. When we met and married, Harry was a loving, hard-working, job-having man whose only dream was to have a wonderful family and then retire to one of those cute stone villages in the south of England. After an hour, Harry finally spoke up. Tiff and Harry's friend went into the living room, but I never realized how strange it would feel to be with Harry again. He confessed that he stopped loving me a month into my pregnancy. It wasn't to do with the fact that I was sick all the time, dirty as a mole, or wouldn't stop talking about the baby. He just didn't have a reason. Since he couldn't think of why he stopped loving me, he assumed that the love would come back in no time, that maybe it was some delusion caused by the stress of a baby on the way. Over time, that love didn't come back, and he started feeling incredibly guilty and alone in it all, which is when he got fired from his job. He told me it was because his work performance was belittled by new management, but it was really because he was too trapped in his feelings to think about anything but how much he still didn't love me. Then he never tried to get a job, because sitting at home without me, since I had to work more, was much better than sitting at work and possibly getting fired again. He came to love how he had alone time until the moment that he felt alone. That was when he refused to work, just so he wouldn't have to see me. He wanted to sit and wait and see how long it would be before I came to him. The trip was to test the waters. It was to see if life would be better without me. He still hasn't decided. In his whole explanation, he kept emphasizing how he didn't love me and said It was like I was a child who needed to hear something 1,000 times just to understand it. He never apologized. In a rough way, I was shocked, distraught. If you have a word to describe that awful emotion, then I felt it. I cried, I shouted, I cried again, and we sat in silence until I could talk. Then I told him how I could never trust him again. How could I possibly trust him not to walk out on me or the baby? How could I trust him to tell me these things or explain his emotions or to see the story from both sides? How could I possibly work myself dry again for an unloving husband? And so I made the decision for him. We would go to couples counseling. Not to be a better couple, but to just understand each other and learn to communicate properly well together and to other people. No matter what, our lives would always involve each other because of the marriage and baby, and so we need to be able to talk. I've moved into my mum's home and I'm free to stay as long as I need to. My mum is helping me to make the spare room into a nursery and is being the most amazing, supportive, incredible mum anybody could be. Tiff and I are going to stay in closer contact, and Harry's ex-friend said that he can be the appointment driver and is going to be my second emergency contact. As for when I'm in labor, my mum will be with me, and Tiff and Harry's ex-friend will be waiting to meet the baby and stop Harry from even seeing the delivery room. Finally, I made it clear to Harry that we will separate for now, but will divorce and remain separated after the baby is born. I will make sure that he is not mentioned on my emergency contacts. He can't be trusted to show up or even where he says he is. I'm not going to update this anymore since I have things to do and a baby to prepare for. Thank you for sticking around and reading this all. I respond to whatever comments I see or want to, but those are all I say after this. The OP does add a couple more details and says, "Hi there, I just saw this. I didn't include a lot of nitty details in this because in my last post on the matter I just wanted to clear the air. However, Harry told Tiff that I had allowed him to go so he could think, so she didn't try to reach out. I suppose she wanted to give Harry and I space, or maybe just forgot her brother was upset and in a crisis of sorts. There are lots of things to still talk about since we only talked for an evening. Also, Harry's friend is on my emergency contact because he's been helping me through this, and if my mum can't get to me, he's the closest after her. Emergency contacts are about trust, but also location." Someone said, "How did ex-friend become ex-friend?" Opie says, "In short, Harry lied to his friend and then the friend learned what Harry had told me. The friend doesn't want to be Harry's friend anymore." Someone says, "You may want to contact a lawyer about him not being a contact at the baby's school." Opie says, "I responded to someone else about this. In a rough way, I'm tired and realized that won't happen. I just want to know that Harry couldn't take the baby from nursery without me knowing, and then decided he'd have a better life without us. What I mean is that until he decides if he wants to be in our lives and get any mental health support that he needs, because of how he's been feeling and acting, then I want to know where our baby is at all times." But now I'm going to turn this one straight to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.